Cicada 33. On January 4, 2012, an image appeared on 4chan. It was plain black text on a white background. The message said that whoever posted it was looking for highly intelligent individuals. To find them, they had hidden a message inside the image. Anyone who could find it would be led to the next step. At first, it looked like a normal internet puzzle. People downloaded the image and started checking the file. Then they found hidden text inside the data. The text led them to another clue. That clue led them to a book cipher. The book cipher led them to a phone number. The phone number played a recorded message. The voice on the line told solvers that they had done well. But the puzzle was not over. The clues moved from the internet into the real world. Posters with cicada symbols and QR codes appeared on telephone poles in cities across the world. They were found in places like the United States, France, Spain, Poland, and Australia. This meant the person behind the puzzle was not just a bored user online. Someone had planned it in multiple countries. Someone had money, time, and coordination. Solvers continued following the trail. The puzzles involved cryptography, old books, prime numbers, hidden files, and anonymous websites. Every stage removed more people. Some solvers said they eventually reached a private page. A few claimed they were asked about privacy, freedom of information, and censorship. Then the trail went quiet. A second puzzle appeared in 2013, another appeared in 2014, but the group behind it never fully revealed who they were. People guessed it was a recruitment test for intelligence agencies. Others thought it was a cult, a hacker collective, or an art project. No explanation was ever proven. The strangest part was not that the puzzle existed. The strangest part was how organized it was. A person could solve one clue alone in their bedroom, then suddenly be told to look for a physical poster on another continent. It felt like the internet had opened a door into something much larger than a game. For years, strangers across the world were chasing clues left by a group that may have been watching them the entire time. Max Headroom signal hijacking. On November 22, 1987, people in Chicago were watching the evening news on WGN-TV. The sports segment was on. Everything was normal. Then the screen went black. A few seconds later, a strange figure appeared. The person was wearing a Max Headroom mask. Behind him was a moving metal background. There was no clear message at first, only distorted buzzing and the image of the masked figure swaying back and forth. Viewers did not know if it was a prank, a technical failure, or something else. After about 30 seconds, engineers regained control, and the news returned. For a moment, it seemed like the incident was over. But about 2 hours later, the same thing happened again. This time, the target was WTTW, a local PBS station. The channel was airing Doctor Who when the signal was interrupted. The Max Headroom figure appeared again, now with distorted audio. The broadcast lasted longer. The person spoke in a warped voice, made strange comments, moved around erratically, and created one of the most unsettling pieces of television ever accidentally seen by normal viewers. The important detail was that this was not a normal video prank. Someone had hijacked broadcast signals from two separate television stations in the same city on the same night. They needed technical knowledge. They needed equipment. They needed to know how to overpower or interfere with a signal at the right time. This was before social media, before live streaming, before people could instantly fake a viral clip. The Federal Communications Commission investigated. Engineers looked at how it could have been done. People came up with theories. Some believed the hijackers used a powerful transmitter from a nearby building. Others believed they had inside knowledge of local television infrastructure. But nobody was ever arrested. Nobody was publicly identified. The mask became famous, but the person under it remained unknown. The recording later spread online, and that is where the incident became an internet mystery. Viewers could pause it, analyze it, brighten it, slow it down, and search every detail. But the more people studied it, the stranger it felt. The video was real. The interruption was real. The only thing missing was the answer to who had done it. Markovian Parallax Denigrate. On August 5, 1996, hundreds of strange messages appeared across Usenet. one of the early public discussion systems of the Internet. The posts looked like normal text at first glance, but they made no sense. They were long strings of random words, names, technical terms, locations, and fragments that seemed almost like a coded message. Many of the posts became associated with the phrase Markovian Parallax Denigrate. Nobody knew what it meant. Some users thought it was spam. Others thought it was a broken text generator. But because the posts appeared in large numbers and seemed structured, people began to wonder if there was something hidden inside them. The timing made the mystery feel stranger. This was 1996. The Internet was smaller. Search engines were primitive. Online identities were easier to fake and harder to trace. A person could flood message boards with strange text and disappear almost completely. Later, when people went back and studied the posts, they found theories but no clear answer. Some believed the text was made with a Markov chain, a system that can generate sentences by predicting which words might come next. Others thought it was an early artificial intelligence experiment, a failed encryption test, or a spammer testing software. For a while, one woman's name was connected to the posts because of a spoofed email address, but she denied being involved. The disturbing part is how little was ever proven. It may have been meaningless spam. It may have been a private experiment. It may have been an attempt to hide a message in plain sight. But the posts were real, and they are still remembered because they feel like a fossil from a stranger internet. A burst of machine-like language appeared, confused everyone, and then vanished before anyone could explain it. The Slender Man stabbing. On May 31, 2014, three 12-year-old girls were together in Waukesha, Wisconsin. They had spent the night at a birthday sleepover. The next morning, they went to a park near a wooded area. To anyone nearby, it would have looked like three children walking together after a normal night at a friend's house. But two of the girls had already made a plan. They believed in Slender Man, a fictional horror character that had started online in 2009. He was created as an edited image for an internet contest. But over time, stories about him spread across forums, creepypasta pages, videos, and fan communities. In the stories, Slender Man was tall, faceless, and able to stalk children from the woods. The girls had read those stories until fiction started to feel real. They later told investigators they believed Slender Man would hurt their families if they did not prove themselves to him. They decided that the way to become his servants was to kill their friend. Inside the wooded area, one of the girls attacked Peyton Leutner with a knife while the other encouraged her. Peyton was stabbed multiple times. The two girls left her there and walked away. Peyton was badly injured, but she survived. She crawled out of the woods and reached a nearby road, where a cyclist found her and called for help. Police found the two girls later that day. They were walking near a highway. They said they were going to find Slender Man's mansion in the forest. The case shocked people because it sounded like an internet myth had crossed into real life. Slender Man had never been real. The stories were fictional. The photos were edited. But the belief had become real enough for two children to almost kill another child. Both girls were charged. The courts treated the case as a serious violent crime, but also examined their mental health. Years later, Peyton survived and spoke publicly about what happened. The internet character remained fictional. The stabbing did not. Luka Magnotta. In 2010, disturbing videos began appearing online. The videos showed animal cruelty, and the person responsible did not hide from attention. He seemed to want people to look. Internet users began searching for him. They studied backgrounds, objects in the room, usernames, posts, and tiny details that might reveal where the videos had been filmed. The search led to a man named Luka Magnotta. He was a Canadian who had created many online profiles using different names and identities. Some users believed he was deliberately planting clues about himself. Others believed he was trying to build his own fame by becoming a mystery people could not ignore. The people tracking him warned that his violence could escalate. They saved screenshots. They compared faces. They reported what they found. But the internet is full of fake identities, hoaxes, and people pretending to be worse than they are. For a while, it looked like another dark corner of the web that police would not take. seriously until it was too late. Then, in May 2012, their worst fear became real. Jun Lin was a 33-year-old international student in Montreal. He had moved to Canada from China and was studying computer science. On the evening of May 24th, he was seen entering an apartment building with Magnotta. Soon after, a video appeared online showing Lin's murder and the abuse of his body. Body parts were later mailed to political offices and schools. A suitcase containing Lin's torso was found near Magnotta's apartment building. Magnotta fled Canada. Police issued an international warrant. His face spread through the news. For several days, he moved through Europe while the manhunt intensified. Then on June 4, 2012, he walked into an internet cafe in Berlin. He was reportedly reading news about himself when he was recognized. Police arrived and arrested him. At trial, Magnotta admitted the acts, but argued he should not be held criminally responsible because of mental illness. The jury rejected that argument. In December 2014, he was convicted of first-degree murder and other charges. He received a life sentence with parole eligibility after 25 years. The internet mystery had started with anonymous cruelty, videos and people trying to identify a face behind a screen. It ended with a real victim, a global manhunt, and a killer caught while looking up his own name online. Armin Meiwes and the Cannibal Cafe. In the early 2000s, a website existed where people discussed cannibal fantasies. For most users, it was a disturbing fantasy space. The posts were extreme, but many people assumed they were not real. Then a German man named Armin Meiwes posted an advertisement looking for someone willing to be killed and eaten. Most people who saw posts like that would assume it was role play. But Meiwes was serious. He had been active in online forums under different names and had contacted multiple people. Some backed out when the fantasy became too real. One man did not. Bernd Brandes was a 43-year-old engineer from Berlin. In March 2001, he traveled to Meiwes' house in Rothenburg, Germany. The two men had communicated online before the meeting. Brandes had agreed to be harmed, but consent could not make what happened legal. Inside the house, Meiwes killed him and recorded parts of the crime. For more than a year, the case stayed hidden. Then an Austrian student found one of Meiwes' later online advertisements. The student contacted him and asked if he had actually killed anyone. Meiwes said yes. The student reported him to authorities. Police searched Meiwes' home in December 2002. They found evidence of the killing, including human remains and recordings. Meiwes confessed. The case became one of the most disturbing examples of how an online fantasy community could hide something real. At first, a German court convicted Meiwes of manslaughter and sentenced him to 8.5 years. Prosecutors appealed, arguing that the killing was murder. In 2006, he was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. The mystery was not whether a strange forum existed. It was whether anyone inside it was actually willing to act. In this case, the answer was yes, and the evidence had been sitting inside online messages the entire time. Silk Road and Dread Pirate Roberts. In January 2011, a hidden website appeared on the dark web. It was called Silk Road. It could not be reached through a normal browser. Users accessed it through Tor, and payments were made using Bitcoin. The site looked like an online marketplace, with vendor ratings, product listings, reviews, and customer service. But what it sold was illegal. For a while, the person running it was only known as Dread Pirate Roberts. The name sounded like a joke from a movie, but the marketplace was real. Drugs, fake documents, hacking tools, and other illegal services were listed openly behind layers of anonymity. To users, it felt like the internet had created a black market that police could not touch. The site also showed how normal design could make abnormal things feel ordinary. It had ratings, accounts, dispute systems, and usernames. It used the same trust signals as normal online stores. That was what made it unsettling. That made the site feel less like a rumor and more like infrastructure. The danger was not hidden behind a monstrous design. It was packaged like customer service. Law enforcement agencies began investigating. They looked at vendors, moderators, Bitcoin movements, server data, and old forum posts. The mystery was simple but difficult. Who was Dread Pirate Roberts? The investigation slowly narrowed. One early clue came from old posts advertising Silk Road under the username Altoid. Later, that same username was connected to an email address containing the name Ross Ulbricht. Investigators also tracked servers and accounts connected to the site. The anonymous empire started to develop a human shape. On October 1, 2013, FBI agents moved in at a public library in San Francisco. Ulbricht was using his laptop. Agents needed the computer open and unlocked, because it could contain the evidence tying him to Silk Road. They distracted him, grabbed the laptop, and arrested him before he could close it. In 2015, Ross Ulbricht was convicted in federal court and sentenced to life in prison for his role in operating Silk Road. The FBI later said the site had generated hundreds of millions of dollars in sales and more than $13 million in Bitcoin commissions. Years later, in 2025, Ulbricht was pardoned. But the case still changed how people understood the dark web. Silk Road had looked like a rumor, the kind of thing people described in vague internet warnings. Then investigators proved it was real. Behind the hidden website, behind the username, behind the encrypted marketplace, there was still a person sitting at a laptop.